Ignore this, and your partner may lose interest. The invisible shift, the problem most people miss. There is a quiet moment in many relationships that almost nobody notices. No fight happens, no dramatic breakup, no betrayal. Yet something changes. The energy shifts, the warmth fades, and slowly, the interest disappears. The strange part is this. Most people never realize when the shift actually began. They assume attraction fades because of time. They blame routine. They blame stress. They blame work, kids, responsibilities, or the simple idea that relationships just naturally cool down. But psychology tells a very different story. Interest rarely disappears because of time. Interest disappears because of neglecting something subtle but extremely powerful. Something so small, most couples never even talk about it. And when this element disappears, the relationship begins to feel strangely different. Your partner may still be there. They still text you. They still sit next to you. They still say, "I love you." But something underneath the surface is no longer the same. Because attraction and emotional connection are not maintained by love alone. They are maintained by psychological energy. And when that energy fades, the relationship slowly begins to feel predictable, comfortable, and eventually invisible. Carl Jung once described something important about human relationships. He believed people are naturally drawn to aliveness, to energy, to mystery, to growth. When someone stops evolving emotionally inside a relationship, the dynamic begins to flatten, and the brain starts to feel something dangerous. Familiarity without excitement. Most couples think stability is enough, but the human mind doesn't work that way. It needs a balance between security and curiosity. Too much insecurity, and the relationship feels unsafe. But too much predictability, and the relationship loses its spark. This is where many relationships quietly start to decline, not through conflict, but through emotional stagnation. At first, the change is subtle. Your partner stops asking certain questions. The conversations become shorter. The curiosity fades. They still care about you, but they no longer feel the same psychological pull they once did. This is the stage where many people make a critical mistake. They try harder. They give more attention, more reassurance, more availability. But strangely, the more they try to hold on, the more distant the other person becomes. This creates confusion. How can loving someone more make them lose interest? But attraction does not operate like affection. Affection grows through closeness. Attraction grows through psychological tension. When two people first meet, there is uncertainty, curiosity, discovery. Neither person fully knows the other. This mystery activates the brain's reward system. Every conversation feels meaningful. Every moment feels new. But over time, many people unknowingly destroy this dynamic. They stop developing themselves. They stop creating emotional intrigue. They become completely predictable. And when predictability reaches a certain level, the mind stops registering novelty. At this point, your partner's brain begins to categorize the relationship as stable but static. And the moment something feels static, attention begins to drift. This doesn't mean your partner suddenly stops loving you, but the emotional intensity changes. Interest slowly fades into routine, and routine eventually turns into indifference. What makes this dangerous is that most couples never identify the real cause. They assume the relationship simply ran its course. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. In many cases, the relationship didn't fail because of a big mistake. It failed because of one psychological principle that was ignored for too long. A principle that quietly controls attraction, interest, and emotional investment. In the moment this principle disappears, the relationship begins to lose its emotional gravity. But here's the important part. This shift doesn't happen instantly. It happens gradually. So slowly that most people don't notice until the connection is already weak. And by the time they realize something is wrong, their partner may already be emotionally detaching. But to understand why this happens, you first need to understand something about how human attention actually works inside relationships. Because attraction is not sustained by love alone. It is sustained by something much deeper, psychological engagement. And in the next section, we're going to break down the exact behavior that quietly kills that engagement. The one thing many people ignore that slowly makes their partner lose interest. the hidden behavior that quietly kills attraction. Now that you understand the invisible shift that happens in relationships, we need to talk about the one behavior that silently destroys attraction. And the uncomfortable truth is this: most people think relationships fail because of big problems. Cheating, arguments, dishonesty. But in reality, relationships often weaken because of something much smaller: predictable availability. At first, this sounds strange. After all, aren't relationships supposed to be about being there for each other? Yes, but psychological attraction follows different rules than emotional support. And when people misunderstand this difference, they unknowingly remove one of the most powerful forces that keeps relationships alive. That force is psychological curiosity. In the beginning of a relationship, curiosity is everywhere. You want to know what the other person thinks, what they like, what they believe. Even their small reactions feel interesting. Why? Because the human brain is wired to respond strongly to novelty. Novelty activates dopamine, the chemical connected to anticipation and reward. This is why the early stage of love feels intense. Every interaction contains discovery. But over time, something begins to change. Many people slowly abandon the parts of themselves that originally made them interesting. They stop growing. They stop exploring new ideas. They stop developing their own life outside their relationship. Without realizing it, they make their entire emotional world revolve around their partner. At first, this may look like devotion, but psychologically, something else begins to happen. The relationship becomes predictable. Your partner knows exactly what you'll say, exactly how you'll react, exactly what your routine looks like. And when the brain can predict everything, curiosity disappears. Curiosity requires uncertainty. Without uncertainty, attention fades. This is why people often describe long relationships as feeling like they're on autopilot. The connection is still there, but the excitement is gone. Carl Jung believed that relationships thrive when individuals continue developing themselves. He called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming more fully yourself. But many people unconsciously abandon this journey once they enter a relationship. They stop evolving, they stop discovering, and instead of two growing individuals interacting, the relationship becomes two people repeating the same patterns every day. This is where attraction begins to decline, not because love disappears, but because psychological stimulation disappears. The mind begins to crave something new, something unpredictable, something alive. And here's the difficult truth. If the relationship no longer provides that stimulation, the brain will start looking for it elsewhere, not necessarily through cheating, but through emotional distance, distraction, reduced enthusiasm. Sometimes people interpret this as their partner changing, but often the change isn't sudden. It's the slow consequence of a dynamic that stopped evolving. And this is where another powerful psychological concept enters the picture. It's called emotional polarity. Polarity exists whenever two energies interact in a way that creates tension, not conflict. Tension. Think about a magnet. Two identical poles repel each other, but opposite poles create attraction. Relationships work in a similar way. When both people stop bringing unique energy into the connection, polarity fades. The relationship becomes emotionally flat. This is why some couples feel like roommates instead of partners. Nothing is wrong, but nothing feels exciting either. Many people try to fix this by increasing affection. More messages, more reassurance, more time together. But if curiosity has disappeared, increasing contact alone doesn't restore attraction. Sometimes it does the opposite, because it reinforces the same predictable dynamic. This is why some partners begin pulling away, not because they don't care, but because the relationship no longer stimulates their attention, and attention is the foundation of attraction. One of the most overlooked truths about relationships is this: people remain interested in what continues to evolve. If a person feels like they already understand everything about you, their brain stops searching. And when the search stops, so does the excitement. But here's the good news. This process is not permanent. Interest can return. Attraction can reignite. But it requires one important shift. Instead of focusing only on the relationship, you must focus on reawakening your own psychological presence. Because the most attractive quality a person can have is not perfection. It's aliveness. The sense that there is always more to discover. In the final section, we'll explore exactly how this shift happens, and why the most attractive people in relationships all share one powerful trait. that keeps their partner emotionally invested. The trait that keeps your partner emotionally hooked. Now we arrive at the most important part. If ignoring one principle can slowly make your partner lose interest, what keeps that interest alive? What makes someone feel drawn to you, even after years together? The answer is not constant attention, not perfect communication, and not trying to be everything your partner wants. The trait that keeps attraction alive is something far more subtle. It's personal momentum. Personal momentum means one simple thing. You continue becoming someone new. Not a different person, but a growing one. Think about the people who naturally hold attention. They are never emotionally stagnant. They learn new ideas. They develop new skills. They experience new perspectives. Their personality keeps evolving. This evolution creates a powerful psychological effect. Your partner never feels like they've fully figured you out, and that mystery keeps curiosity alive. Curiosity leads to attention. Attention fuels attraction. Carl Jung believed that one of the most important aspects of psychological health is continuous inner development. When a person stops growing psychologically, they become rigid, predictable, static. But when someone continues developing themselves, they remain psychologically alive, and aliveness is deeply attractive. This is why some people remain fascinating to their partners even after decades together. It's not because they are trying to impress. It's because they never stopped becoming. They pursue interests. They develop ideas. They maintain their individuality. Their identity does not collapse into the relationship. Instead, the relationship becomes a place where two evolving individuals meet. And when two evolving individuals interact, the connection never becomes stagnant. There is always something new to share, something new to discover, something new to admire. This is where many relationships lose their spark. One or both partners unknowingly abandon their personal momentum. They stop exploring life outside the relationship. They stop investing in their own growth. And slowly, the dynamic becomes repetitive. The same routines, the same conversations, the same patterns. Nothing is technically wrong, but nothing feels alive. The mind starts craving novelty again, and when novelty is absent in the relationship, attention naturally drifts elsewhere. But when personal momentum exists, something powerful happens. Your partner doesn't feel like they're living with a predictable routine. They feel like they're connected to a person whose life continues unfolding. This creates emotional intrigue. Intrigue leads to curiosity. Curiosity leads to fascination, and fascination sustains attraction. This is why some couples never lose their spark. Not because they constantly try to entertain each other, but because each person continues developing their own life. Their relationship becomes a meeting point between two evolving stories. Not static structure, but a living dynamic. And there's another important benefit to personal momentum. It protects you from something that quietly destroys attraction, neediness. When someone stops developing themselves, they often begin relying on their partner for all emotional fulfillment. This creates pressure, and pressure slowly suffocates attraction. But when you maintain your own psychological momentum, something different happens. Your partner feels free. They experience the relationship as an addition to their life, not a responsibility they must constantly maintain. This freedom, paradoxically, increases attraction, because attraction thrives where there is space and vitality, not where there is emotional dependency. So if you want to prevent the slow loss of interest in a relationship, remember this. Don't focus only on keeping the relationship alive. Focus on keeping yourself alive. Stay curious. Stay evolving. Stay engaged with the world beyond the relationship. Because the most powerful way to maintain attraction is not by holding tighter. It's by continuing to become someone worth discovering again and again. And when two people do this together, the relationship doesn't slowly fade. It continues expanding. Before you go, I want you to do something simple. In the comments, write, "I keep growing." Because the moment you stop growing, the relationship starts standing still. And standing still is where interest quietly begins to disappear. If this video helped you see relationships differently, subscribe. We explore the psychology behind attraction, connection, and human behavior, the things most people feel, but rarely understand. And if someone you know is wondering why their relationship suddenly feels different, share this video with them. It might help them see what was hiding in plain sight.